Hello everyone. Naruto Fix here, back with another amazing What If Naruto fanfic. Which is, what if Naruto inspired love in every girl, but had to choose one? Part 1. If you enjoy Naruto stories, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps the journey grow. Now let's head right into today's fanfic. Naruto Uzumaki never meant to become someone people fell in love with. He only ever tried to be someone who stayed. Stayed when others ran. Stayed when promises broke. Stayed when the world taught people that caring too much was a weakness. And somehow, that staying became the reason so many hearts quietly turned toward him. Konoha lived in peace now, but peace carried its own weight. Without constant war, people were left alone with their thoughts, their memories, and the feelings they had buried beneath survival. Naruto walked through the village as he always had, greeting people with the same warmth, the same sincerity, never realizing how deeply that constancy reached. He listened when others spoke. He believed when others doubted themselves. He never asked for more than honesty. And for many, that was enough to feel something grow. Sakura Haruno noticed it first, not in others, but in herself. She had loved Naruto once in a loud, confusing way, tangled with rivalry and unmet expectations. That love had faded, transformed into something steadier. Now, when she looked at him, she saw a man who had learned restraint without losing kindness. They sat together outside the hospital one evening, watching the lights of Konoha flicker on. "You know," Sakura said softly, "you make people feel like they matter without asking anything back." Naruto smiled. "I just do what I wish someone had done for me." Sakura nodded slowly. That was the problem. He did it too well. Her feelings were no longer desire, but respect so deep it felt like love wearing a different shape. Ino Yamanaka felt something sharper. Naruto challenged her in ways she didn't expect. He never tried to impress her. Never played into her confidence or flirted for attention. He treated her emotions as real, not dramatic. One afternoon, she confronted him half-jokingly. "Do you have any idea how many girls think you're special?" she asked. Naruto laughed. "I hope they don't. Sounds exhausting." Ino stared at him, then shook her head. "You don't even see it," she muttered. And that blindness only made her feelings more dangerous. Temari of the Sand saw Naruto with clarity. She admired strength, but she valued control more. Naruto had both, and the wisdom not to abuse either. He never dominated a room, never claimed authority where it wasn't needed. "You could have taken advantage of people's feelings," she once told him bluntly. Naruto raised an eyebrow. "Why would I?" Temari smirked. "Exactly. Her affection was forged in respect, sharp and unwavering." Hinata Hyuga loved Naruto differently than all the rest. She loved him quietly, patiently, without expectation. She had loved him when he was lonely and loud, when he failed, when he doubted himself. Her love did not grow because Naruto inspired her. It grew because he never stopped being himself. They walked together near the river one evening, neither rushing, neither forcing conversation. "You change people," Hinata said gently. Naruto looked thoughtful. "I never meant to." Hinata smiled. "I know. That was why her love never felt heavy." Naruto, however, felt the tension building around him even if he couldn't name it yet. He noticed the lingering looks, the pauses in conversation, the emotions left unspoken. He had inspired love without realizing it, and now those feelings existed, real, valid, and unresolved. For the first time, Naruto understood something frightening. Kindness had consequences. And love, when unchosen, could still hurt. Late that night, Naruto stood alone on the Hokage monument, the village quiet beneath him. The wind carried the scent of home, and with it, the weight of realization settled in his chest. He had inspired love in many hearts. But one day, he would have to choose. And choosing one did not mean rejecting the others. It meant changing everything forever. Naruto clenched his fists, not in fear, but in resolve. I won't run from this, he thought. Because for the first time, the battle ahead was not against hatred or war. It was against the truth of his own heart. Naruto did not sleep that night. He lay awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to the quiet breathing of the village beyond his window. For most of his life, silence had been an enemy. It reminded him of isolation, of unanswered questions, of being unwanted. Now, the silence felt different. It carried weight, not emptiness. For the first time, Naruto understood that love was not just something you received. It was something you were responsible for. He replayed moments he had once considered ordinary. Sakura's tired smile when he checked on her after long shifts. Ino's sharp remarks that always softened when he listened instead of teasing back. Temari's steady gaze, measuring him not as a man to conquer, but as one to respect. Hinata's quiet presence, never demanding, never leaving. None of those feelings had been created by promises. They had been born from constancy. And that realization unsettled him. The next morning, Naruto walked through Konoha earlier than usual. The streets were calm, sunlight spilling between buildings, the village slowly waking up. He greeted people out of habit, but his thoughts were elsewhere. For the first time, Naruto wondered if being kind without direction could be careless. He had always believed love was something that fixed loneliness. Now he saw it could also create it. Sakura noticed the change immediately. Naruto stopped by the hospital, leaning against the doorway as he always did, but his usual easy grin was missing. You look like you're thinking too hard, she said, arms crossed. Naruto rubbed the back of his neck. Is it that obvious? Sakura studied him carefully. You're carrying something. Naruto hesitated, then sat down beside her. For a moment, he considered brushing it off with humor. That was the old Naruto's instinct. Instead, he chose honesty. I think I've been careless, he said quietly. Sakura blinked. You, careless? Naruto nodded. With people's hearts. Sakura was silent for a long moment. Then she said something that surprised him. Caring isn't the same as promising, she said. But eventually, people hope. Naruto swallowed. Sakura met his eyes. The fact that you're thinking about this means you haven't done anything wrong yet. Quote. That comforted him, but it didn't erase the truth. Avoiding a choice was still a choice. Ino felt the tension later that day. She found Naruto sitting alone near the training grounds, watching others spar. His attention drifted, unfocused. You're unusually quiet, she said, dropping down beside him. Naruto forced a smile. Just tired. Ino narrowed her eyes. You're bad at lying. Naruto exhaled slowly. I don't want to hurt anyone. The words slipped out before he could stop them. Ino froze, then laughed lightly. Wow, straight to the point. Ha. But Naruto saw through the laugh. Ino looked away. You know, hurting people doesn't always come from choosing wrong. Naruto waited. Sometimes it comes from choosing too late, she said softly. The words stayed with him long after she walked away. Temari confronted the situation with her usual bluntness. During a joint meeting, she caught Naruto alone afterward and crossed her arms. You're conflicted, she said. Naruto sighed. Is it that obvious? Quote. Yes. Temari replied. And you don't look like someone afraid of rejection. You look like someone afraid of responsibility. Naruto didn't deny it. Temari stepped closer. Feelings don't disappear just because you don't name them. Quote. Naruto met her gaze. I never wanted anyone to feel second. Temari's expression softened slightly. Then don't let them feel invisible. Her words struck deeper than criticism. Hinata noticed the change without being told. Naruto avoided lingering conversations. He smiled, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. He listened, but his thoughts seemed distant. One evening, she found him standing near the river, staring at the water. You don't seem at peace, she said gently. Naruto didn't look away. I'm trying to be fair. Hinata's heart tightened. Fairness isn't the same as honesty, she said quietly. Naruto turned to her, surprised. Hinata lowered her gaze, then lifted it again, resolve steady in her eyes. You don't owe anyone love, she continued. But you owe yourself the truth. Naruto felt something shift inside him. Hinata had always loved him without demanding anything. And that was exactly why her words carried the most weight. That night, Naruto stood again on the Hokage monument. He thought about the boy he had been, the one who begged the world to notice him. That boy would have been overwhelmed by this situation, desperate to be loved, terrified of losing it. But Naruto was no longer that boy. He had grown into someone people trusted. And trust required clarity. I can't keep standing in the middle, he thought. Because the longer he waited, the more the choice would make itself. Naruto realized something profound. Love was not about who admired him most. Not about who needed him most. Not even about who had loved him the longest. It was about who he became when he stood beside them. And that answer was forming quietly, persistently, even now. He just wasn't ready to speak it yet. But he would be. Because inspiring love came with a final responsibility. Choosing one truth. And accepting everything that choice would change. Naruto began to understand that hesitation had a sound. It wasn't loud. It didn't echo. It lived in the spaces between conversations. In the moments when someone almost said something and then smiled instead. It lived in the way people waited. Not impatiently, but hopefully. And hope, Naruto realized, could be fragile when left unanswered. He trained harder than usual the next few days, not to escape the problem, but to think through it. Physical exertion had always helped him sort his thoughts. Each strike, each breath, each pause between movements grounded him in the present. But no matter how focused he became, one truth followed him relentlessly. Every kindness he offered now carried weight. Sakura felt that weight during a simple exchange. Naruto stopped by the hospital again, helping move supplies, listening as always. But when their hands brushed accidentally, Sakura pulled back just a little, so subtly Naruto might not have noticed. She smiled, still warm, still genuine. Yet something had shifted. Later, as they walked together down the corridor, Sakura spoke carefully. You don't have to protect everyone, she said. Naruto frowned slightly. I'm not trying to. Sakura met his eyes. You always are. Just be careful you don't do it at the cost of yourself. Naruto nodded, absorbing her words. Sakura's love had matured into wisdom. And wisdom, he knew, often stepped aside when its work was done. Ino, on the other hand, didn't step aside so easily. She confronted him one afternoon, voice casual but eyes searching. Are you avoiding people? She asked. Naruto hesitated. I don't want to confuse anyone. Quote. Ino laughed softly. Too late for that. She sighed, then leaned against the railing beside him. You don't owe us answers right now, she said. But don't disappear either. Silence can hurt more than rejection. Quote. Naruto closed his eyes briefly. Ino's affection was bold, but not reckless. She wanted clarity, not possession. Temari viewed the situation with strategic distance. She spoke to Naruto before leaving Konoha again, arms crossed, expression sharp as ever. You can't treat this like a battlefield, she said. There's no victory in waiting for time to solve it. Naruto nodded. I know. Temari's gaze softened slightly. Whatever choice you make it because it's true. Not because it's safe. Then she left, leaving Naruto alone with that truth. Hinata noticed the smallest changes. Naruto's pauses were longer, his smiles more thoughtful. When he spoke to her, he listened just as deeply, but now there was something else beneath it. Conflict. They stood together near the river one evening, the water reflecting fading light. You're carrying something heavy, Hinata said softly. Naruto didn't deny it. I don't want to hurt anyone. Quote. Hinata folded her hands gently. You won't avoid pain by avoiding truth. Naruto turned to her. What if the truth hurts? Hinata met his gaze, calm and steady. Then it hurts honestly. Those words settled into him like a final piece clicking into place. That night, Naruto sat alone, thinking not about who loved him, but about who he was when he was with them. With Sakura, he felt growth and gratitude. With Ino, clarity and challenge. With Temari, balance and respect. With Hinata, he felt still. Not quiet because nothing needed to be said. Still because nothing needed to be proven. Naruto finally understood. The question was never who loved him most. It was where his heart rested without effort. And now that he saw it, he knew he could not unsee it. Part 1 had not yet reached its end. But the direction was no longer uncertain. The choice was forming, not from pressure, not from obligation, but from truth. And Naruto Uzumaki was almost ready to face it. Naruto stopped pretending that time alone would solve this. He had always trusted time. Time healed wounds. Time softened anger. Time turned enemies into allies. But this was different. This was not a wound that could close on its own, nor anger that would cool if ignored. This was love, quiet, patient, real, and love, when left unanswered, did not disappear. It waited. And waiting, Naruto knew, could become pain if stretched too long. For the first time since the war, Naruto felt afraid of doing nothing. He began paying closer attention, not to how others felt about him, but to how he felt around them. It was uncomfortable at first. Naruto had spent his whole life reacting, responding, protecting. Looking inward without urgency felt unnatural. But honesty demanded it. With Sakura, Naruto felt history. They shared memories forged in chaos and growth. When he stood beside her, he felt proud of how far they had both come, of how they had shaped each other into stronger people. Sakura represented a version of Naruto that had learned discipline, responsibility, and self-respect. But there was also a sense of completion. Their bond no longer pulled him forward. It reminded him of who he had been. And Naruto understood something important. Not all love was meant to continue forward. Some love existed to help you become someone capable of choosing wisely later. With Ino, Naruto felt challenge. She didn't soften herself around him. She questioned him, teased him, pushed him to articulate thoughts he would otherwise leave unspoken. Ino demanded clarity, not because she wanted control, but because she respected truth. When Naruto talked to her, he felt awake. But he also felt watched. Ino's love wanted motion, decision, definition. And Naruto knew that choosing her would mean choosing a life that never stopped questioning itself. He respected that. He wasn't sure he wanted it. With Temari, Naruto felt balance. She never idealized him, never treated him like a savior or a symbol. Temari met him as an equal, strong, independent, sharp. When they spoke, there was no confusion, no hesitation. But there was also distance. Not emotional distance, strategic distance. Temari's life was not rooted in Konoha, and Naruto knew she would never bend herself to fit someone else's path. Choosing Temari would mean a life of constant negotiation, of strength meeting strength. He admired her deeply, but admiration alone did not feel like home. And then there was Hinata. Naruto avoided thinking about her at first. Not because he didn't know what he felt, but because he did. With Hinata, Naruto felt quiet. Not the awkward silence of uncertainty, but the deep stillness of safety. When he stood beside her, he did not feel the need to impress, explain, or protect. His thoughts slowed naturally. His heart stopped racing. Hinata never asked him who he was becoming. She accepted who he was, past, present, and unfinished future. That terrified him more than anything else. Because choosing Hinata did not feel dramatic. It felt inevitable. Hinata noticed Naruto's distance, but she did not chase him. She never had. She continued training, continued living, continued smiling softly when their paths crossed. Her love did not tighten in response to uncertainty. It remained steady, respectful, whole. That restraint weighed on Naruto's heart more than desperation ever could. One evening, he finally spoke. "Why don't you ever ask me?" he asked quietly as they walked together. Hinata looked at him, surprised. "Ask you what?" "To choose," Naruto said. "To explain." Hinata thought for a moment, then answered honestly. "Because if you choose me," she said, "I want it to be because your heart rested there, not because I pulled it." Quote. Naruto stopped walking. The words struck him with the force of truth. That night, Naruto did not stand on the Hokage monument. He stayed inside, sitting quietly, letting the realization settle. Love was not a reward. Not a debt. Not a competition. It was alignment. And alignment could not be forced without breaking something essential. Naruto realized then that inspiring love was not the burden. The burden was pretending he didn't already know the answer. He thought of the boy he had once been. Desperate to be chosen by anyone, terrified of being alone. That boy would have clung to affection wherever it appeared. But Naruto was no longer that boy. He was a man trusted by many. And trust demanded truth. Part 1 was drawing closer to its end. The question was no longer if Naruto would choose. It was when he would have the courage to speak the truth that had already settled in his heart. Because some loves teach you how to grow. Some challenge you to define yourself. Some sharpen you. But only one feels like stillness after a long journey. And Naruto Uzumaki knew, deep down, that when the moment came, he would not choose loudly. He would choose honestly. And that honesty would change everything. Naruto carried the truth quietly for a few days. Not because he was afraid to face it, but because he respected what it meant. Some truths deserved silence before they were spoken aloud. They needed space to settle, to be understood not as impulse, but as certainty. And certainty, Naruto had learned, was not loud. He moved through the village with the same warmth as always, but something had changed inside him. He no longer wondered what if when he spoke to people. Instead, he asked himself a deeper question. Does my heart rest here, or does it stay alert? That question answered more than he expected. With Sakura, conversations felt complete. They laughed easily, spoke openly, shared memories without lingering pain. Sakura no longer looked at him with questions in her eyes. She looked at him with understanding. One evening, as they sat outside the hospital, Sakura said softly, "You've grown into someone who doesn't need to be chosen anymore." Naruto smiled. "Maybe that's why choosing feels harder now." Sakura nodded. "Because now it actually means something." There was pride in her voice. And closure. With Ino, the air still crackled, but now Naruto noticed something new. He felt the need to explain himself. Not because Ino demanded it, but because her presence sharpened everything. She wanted clarity, and Naruto felt pressure, not unhealthy, but constant. Being with Ino meant always standing in the light. "You're thinking again," Ino said one afternoon, watching him carefully. Naruto sighed. "Yeah." Ino crossed her arms. "Whatever you're carrying, don't pretend it's nothing." Naruto met her gaze. "I won't." Quote. Ino smiled faintly. "That's all I need." But Naruto knew. That wasn't enough for a lifetime. Temari's distance made things clearer, not harder. When they spoke, it was direct, honest, unburdened by expectation. She respected Naruto too much to linger in uncertainty. "You've already made up your mind," she said once, blunt as ever. Naruto didn't deny it. Temari smirked. "Good. Just don't betray it." Then she left, strong, unbroken, complete in herself. Naruto admired her for that. Hinata was different. Naruto felt it even before he saw her. With Hinata, he did not feel watched or weighed. He did not feel challenged or tested. He felt accepted. Fully. Quietly. Completely. They trained together one evening, movements synchronized without effort. When they finished, They sat beneath a tree, the air calm around them. You've been quiet lately, Hinata said gently. Naruto nodded. I've been listening. Hinata smiled softly. To what? Naruto looked at her, not searching, not unsure. Myself, he said. Hinata didn't ask more. She didn't need to. Naruto realized something then that sealed the truth. Love was not about excitement that made your heart race. It was about peace that made your heart steady. With Hinata, Naruto felt no urge to perform. No fear of disappointing. No anxiety about being enough. He was enough. And he had never felt that so clearly before. That night, Naruto sat alone, not wrestling with doubt, but preparing for honesty. He knew now that delaying the truth would only hurt the people he cared about. And Naruto had never been someone who turned away from pain if it meant protecting others from it. This time, though, the battle was not external. It was emotional. And Naruto was ready. Part 1 was approaching its final breath. The next step would not be a confession. It would be a decision. One that would bring relief to some, closure to others, and change Naruto's life forever. Because inspiring love was never the challenge. Choosing truth was. And Naruto Uzumaki, who had once feared being unwanted, now faced the weight of being deeply wanted. By many, but meant for one. Naruto did not rush the moment, even though he felt it approaching. For someone who had spent most of his life running headfirst into battles, into danger, into declarations shouted at the sky, this patience was unfamiliar. Yet it felt right. This choice was not like the others. There was no enemy to defeat, no technique to master, no clear line between victory and loss. There was only honesty. And honesty, Naruto had learned, required stillness. He began to notice the smallest shifts in himself. When he laughed, it came easier now. When he trained, his mind stayed focused instead of wandering. When he rested, he did not feel guilty for stopping. It was as if his heart had already chosen, even if his voice had not yet spoken the truth aloud. That realization both calmed and frightened him. Because once spoken, the truth could not be taken back. Naruto thought deeply about what love had meant to him at different points in his life. As a child, love had been a dream. Something distant, imagined, almost mythical. He had wanted it desperately, believing that if someone loved him, everything else would fall into place. As a teenager, love had been loud and confusing. It had mixed with rivalry, insecurity, and the constant need to prove himself. He had mistaken attention for affection, admiration for belonging. As a young man shaped by war, love had become responsibility. Protecting others, carrying their pain, standing between the world and destruction. But now love felt different. Now it felt like home. With Sakura, Naruto felt the warmth of shared history. They had grown together, failed together, learned together. Sakura had seen him at his weakest and strongest. Their bond was unbreakable, but it had transformed into something rooted in mutual respect rather than longing. Naruto realized that Sakura's love had taught him self-discipline. It had shown him how to stand tall beside someone strong without losing himself. It had helped him grow into a man capable of restraint. And because of that, he knew something important. Sakura had already given him what he needed. Their love had completed its purpose. With Ino, Naruto felt sharp clarity. She challenged him to articulate thoughts he would rather feel than explain. She did not allow him to hide behind silence or simplicity. Being with her meant being constantly aware of words, of tone, of intention. Naruto respected that deeply, but he also recognized the cost. A life with Ino would require him to always stay alert, always engaged, always explaining the unspoken. There would be growth, yes, but also constant motion. Naruto realized he did not want to live in perpetual motion anymore. With Temari, Naruto felt equilibrium. There was no illusion between them. No confusion. No emotional fog. Temari respected him as an equal, not as a symbol or savior. Their connection was forged in mutual strength and honesty. But Naruto knew that their paths were not aligned. Temari belonged to the sand, to leadership, to a life that demanded sharp edges and strategic distance. Choosing her would mean choosing compromise as a foundation. Naruto had spent his entire life compromising himself to be accepted. He no longer wanted that. And then there was Hinata. Naruto could not pinpoint the moment his feelings for her had shifted from gratitude to something deeper. It had not been sudden. It had not been dramatic. It had been constant. Hinata was there when Naruto failed. There when he doubted himself. There when he succeeded. Her love had not surged or faded. It had remained steady, unaffected by his highs and lows. Naruto realized that when he imagined his future, quiet mornings, shared meals, peaceful evenings, Hinata was simply there. Not performing, not speaking, not demanding. Just present. And presence, he now understood, was the deepest form of love. Hinata, for her part, sensed the shift long before Naruto spoke. She noticed how his gaze lingered a moment longer. How his posture relaxed around her. How silence between them felt fuller, not empty. Yet she did nothing. She did not push. She did not hope aloud. Because Hinata knew something Naruto was only beginning to understand. Love that needed to be chased was not meant to last. One evening, Naruto and Hinata walked together through the village, the path familiar, the air calm. Lanterns glowed softly, casting long shadows across the ground. You've been thinking a lot, Hinata said gently. Naruto nodded. About responsibility. Hinata tilted her head. Love isn't a burden. Naruto looked at her. But choosing is. Hinata met his gaze, eyes steady, unafraid. Only if you choose against yourself. The words settled deep inside him. Naruto stopped walking. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Naruto exhaled slowly, as if releasing years of tension. I know what my heart wants, he said quietly. Hinata did not ask him to say more. She trusted him enough to wait for the right moment. That night, Naruto stood alone under the stars, not searching for answers, but preparing to live with one. He understood now that inspiring love was never about charm or destiny. It was about consistency, kindness, and courage. But choosing love, choosing one truth, that required something deeper. It required the courage to accept happiness without guilt. Naruto Uzumaki, once desperate to be chosen by anyone, now stood at the edge of a decision that would shape the rest of his life. He was no longer afraid of being alone. He was afraid of choosing wrongly. And yet, beneath that fear, there was calm. Because his heart was no longer divided. It had already found where it belonged. Naruto woke before dawn, not from restlessness, but from clarity. The village outside his window was quiet, wrapped in that brief stillness between night and morning. He sat up slowly, letting the calm settle into him. For years, mornings had begun with urgency, training, missions, expectations. Today, there was none of that. Only awareness. He realized that his heart no longer felt pulled in different directions. The noise that once clouded his thoughts had softened into something manageable, something honest. The truth he had been circling no longer felt sharp. It felt settled. And that frightened him more than confusion ever had. Naruto went for a walk as the sun rose, following familiar paths without thinking. His feet carried him past the academy, past the training grounds, past places where his younger self had stood desperate to be seen. He remembered that boy vividly. The boy who would have clung to any affection offered, afraid it might disappear. The boy who believed love was something you grabbed before it slipped away. Naruto paused, hands in his pockets. I don't need to grab any more, he thought. That realization felt like growth, but also like responsibility. He met Sakura by chance near the hospital entrance. She looked surprised to see him so early. You're up before me. That's new. Naruto smiled. Guess I couldn't sleep. Sakura studied him carefully. You don't look tired. Naruto shrugged. I think I finally figured something out. Sakura didn't ask what. She didn't need to. Instead, she said softly, whatever it is, don't carry it alone. Naruto nodded. I won't. As Sakura walked away, Naruto felt no ache, no regret. Only respect and gratitude. Their bond felt complete, like a chapter that had ended exactly when it needed to. Later, Ino crossed his path near her family's shop. She greeted him with her usual brightness, but her eyes lingered, searching. You look different, she said. Naruto smiled gently. Is that bad? Ino shook her head. No, just means something's changed. Quote. Naruto met her gaze honestly. It has. Ino held his eyes for a moment longer, then nodded once, as if she understood more than he had said. Well, she said lightly, don't disappear, okay? Naruto shook his head. I won't. Ino smiled, but there was maturity in it now, acceptance rather than expectation. Naruto realized something then. Not every love needed to end in heartbreak. Some ended in understanding. Temari's absence made things easier in a way Naruto hadn't expected. She was strong enough to stand apart without resentment, sharp enough to recognize truth without needing reassurance. He respected her deeply for that. Naruto knew that if and when they crossed paths again, there would be no awkwardness. Just mutual respect between two people who had seen each other clearly. And clarity, he was learning, was a gift. Hinata was the last person Naruto saw that day. Not because he planned it. Because somehow, his path always curved toward hers when things mattered. She stood near the training grounds, practicing quietly, movements precise and calm. Naruto watched for a moment before approaching. You're early, Hinata said softly when she noticed him. So are you, Naruto replied. They stood together in comfortable silence, the kind that didn't ask to be filled. Naruto felt his chest tighten, not with fear, but with certainty. You know, he said slowly, I used to think love was something you chased. Hinata looked at him, listening. Now I think, he continued, love is something you arrive at when you stop running. Quote. Hinata's expression softened, but she did not interrupt. Naruto took a breath. I don't want to hurt anyone, he said. But I don't want to lie either. Hinata nodded gently. Truth doesn't hurt as much as uncertainty. Quote. Naruto looked at her, really looked at her, and felt his heart steady in a way it never had before. He wasn't choosing out of obligation. He wasn't choosing out of fear. He was choosing because his heart had already stopped searching. That evening, Naruto stood alone once more, not on the Hokage monument, but on the ground, among the village, among people, among the life he had built. He understood now that inspiring love was never the challenge. The challenge was honoring it without betraying himself. Naruto Uzumaki was ready. Ready to speak the truth. Ready to accept the consequences. Ready to choose one path. Not because the others were wrong, but because one felt like home. Part 1 was nearing its end. The next step would not be dramatic. It would be honest. And honesty, Naruto knew, was the strongest choice he had ever made. Naruto realized that the hardest battles were never fought with fists or chakra. They were fought in silence. In the moments when no one was watching. When there was no enemy to blame. No external force to resist. Just a heart standing face to face with its own truth. He carried that truth carefully now, like something fragile but precious. Days passed, and Naruto allowed himself to observe rather than react. He noticed how Sakura smiled more easily around him now, no longer searching his face for answers, no longer carrying unspoken expectations. Their conversations felt lighter, rooted in mutual respect rather than unresolved emotion. Sakura had grown into herself, and Naruto felt proud of her in a way that was clean and unburdened. He noticed how Ino still challenged him, still teased him, but with an underlying maturity that hadn't been there before. Her affection had sharpened into clarity. She no longer waited for him to become something he wasn't. She was already preparing herself for whatever truth came next. He noticed how Temari's absence did not leave a void. Instead, it left certainty. Their bond had always been one of strength and respect, and it required no maintenance to remain intact. Naruto understood that some connections were powerful precisely because they did not demand continuation. And then there was Hinata. Naruto noticed her in ways he hadn't allowed himself to before. The way her presence slowed his thoughts. The way his shoulders relaxed unconsciously when she was near. The way silence between them felt meaningful instead of heavy. He realized that with Hinata, he did not feel like he was being evaluated, admired, or tested. He felt understood. Hinata, for her part, felt the shift too. Naruto's gaze no longer wandered when they spoke. His attention felt anchored, intentional. There was no confusion in it, only awareness. She sensed that he was standing at the edge of something important. Yet she did not rush him. She had learned long ago that love did not grow louder by being forced. One afternoon, Naruto and Hinata were assigned a simple escort mission together. Nothing dangerous. Nothing urgent. Just time and distance. They walked side by side through open paths, conversation drifting naturally between light topics and quiet reflection. At one point, Naruto stopped, looking out over the landscape. I used to think, he said slowly, that being loved by many people would make me feel complete. Hinata listened. But now, he continued, I think being understood by one person matters more. Quote. Hinata's heart tightened, but she kept her voice steady. Understanding takes time. Naruto nodded. And patience. They continued walking. No promises spoken. No expectations declared. Yet something had shifted irrevocably. Naruto spent that night reflecting deeply. He understood now that love was not a reward for endurance or kindness. It was not something owed or earned through suffering. Love was alignment. It was waking up without anxiety about who you needed to be that day. It was resting without fear that silence would be mistaken for distance. It was knowing that your worst moments would not undo everything you had built. And Naruto knew, without doubt, that alignment existed only in one place. He thought about the cost of choosing. Choosing one path would inevitably close others. No matter how gently he spoke, no matter how honest he was, some hearts would ache. Naruto had always wanted to protect everyone. But he finally accepted something painful and necessary. You cannot protect people from truth without harming yourself. Naruto prepared himself, not for confrontation, but for honesty. He practiced what he would say, not in words, but in intention. He resolved to be clear without cruelty, gentle without deception. He owed that to everyone who had cared for him. And he owed it most of all to himself. Hinata noticed him waiting near the river at dusk, standing quietly as if gathering courage. She approached without hesitation. You look serious, she said softly. Naruto turned to her, and for a moment, the world felt very small. I am, he replied. Hinata folded her hands gently, her expression calm. Then say what you need to say. Naruto inhaled deeply, but stopped himself. Not yet. He realized that part 1 of this journey was not about the confession. It was about the understanding that led to it. Naruto Uzumaki had inspired love in many hearts through kindness, courage, and consistency. But love, he now understood, was not measured by how many people felt it. It was measured by where the heart chose to stay when everything else fell quiet. And his heart had already chosen. Part 1 was drawing to a close, not with a declaration, but with certainty. The next step would not be easy. But it would be true. And Naruto Uzumaki was finally ready to live with that truth. Naruto Uzumaki stood at the edge of the river as dusk faded into night, the village lights beginning to glow behind him. The water moved steadily, unbothered by reflection or shadow, and for the first time in days, his thoughts followed the same calm rhythm. He understood now that love was not something to be balanced like a mission report or delayed until the timing felt perfect. Love demanded honesty. Not haste, not fear, but truth spoken with care. The many hearts he had inspired were not mistakes. They were not accidents born of kindness misunderstood. Each affection had been real, shaped by shared moments, respect, and trust. Sakura's love had grown into wisdom and gratitude, a bond completed by mutual growth. Ino's feelings had sharpened into clarity, teaching him the value of truth without illusion. Temari's respect had stood firm and proud, reminding him that strength never needed possession. None of those connections were erased by what came next. They were honored. And then there was Hinata. With her, Naruto felt no urgency to explain himself, no pressure to perform, no fear of being insufficient. In her presence, he was simply allowed to be, flawed, quiet, unfinished. The stillness he felt beside her was not emptiness. It was peace earned after a long journey. Naruto finally accepted the truth he had been carrying. Choosing one did not mean betraying the others. Choosing one meant stopping the quiet harm of indecision. Love could not remain unchosen forever without becoming pain. He turned away from the river and began walking back toward the village, steps steady, resolve clear. He was no longer the boy desperate to be loved by anyone. He was a man ready to be honest with himself and with those who mattered. The choice was made, not out of obligation, not out of fear, but out of alignment. Naruto Uzumaki had inspired love in many hearts. But his own heart had found where it belonged. And with that understanding, Part 1 came to its natural close. Not with a confession, not with a promise, but with certainty. Thank you.